Here's the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's the excitable Joe Bowen. I heard you went berserk last night.
Did you really?
The overtime goal, is that right?
Just another shtick, Bob. You know what a shtick is. You know, you do it every day. It's just another part of the entertainment value.
Actually, Joe, I was listening. I was listening last night.
Do we have the call?
No, but you were more calm on the Bozak goal in overtime than you were on the Matthews goal or the Nylander goal.
I don't know. I'm going to take your word for it. I thought we were pretty excited about all of them.
Oh, no, you weren't. No. But it's all degrees. I mean, as you well know, it's all degrees of. But you were the 3-3 goal to me. The fact that they were able to come back to 3-3, Joe, to me that was a real moment.
The penalty kill was the turning point in the game. I don't think there was any question about that.
The 5-on-3.
The Washington scores there. It's home and cooled out, I think. But the Leafs have done a great job all year long of killing 5-on-3s. I think they've only had one goal, if memory serves correct, in about 12 opportunities that totaled about 6 or 7 minutes when they played 3-on-5 that they gave up a goal. So having said that, it was a big turning point. And then to score just with seconds left to go to the third period, I think that was that was the turning point in the game, and a scoreless third, and then finally a power play opportunity that they took advantage of.
All right, so listen to this. Was this the overtime winner? All right, so let's hear how excited you got. This is Bowen calling the overtime winner for the Leafs last night. Listen.
Mitch Marner on the wing to Van Riemsdyk, chipping it into the corner. Marner lets it go. Goes to Bozak, onto the boards and back to the point. It comes to Morgan Riley. Dished off on the far side for Bozak. Centering pass, scores! Scores! Tyler Bozak! Holy Mackinac, the Leafs have won it!
Well, that was pretty good.
I think really good.
I didn't think you went berserk there.
Tyler Bozak!
Oh, shut up.
Deflects the shot past Holtby!
All right, I spoke too soon.
Hey, Mike Modano! There's going to be at least 6 games!
Well, now, what was that? Where's that from?
What is that shot?
Well, someone pointed out during the game, Mr. Modano had tweeted that Leaf fans should enjoy the 2 games at home because this would be over in 5. So I thought, well, you know what? He's such a good guy that I thought I would just kind of fire one back.
And you know he's listening to you.
Well, I hope he is, yeah. You know what? I just thought, I don't know why it crept into my mind at that particular point, but I thought it was kind of neat.
I don't know what you're doing looking at Twitter anyway.
Well, yeah,
busy with stuff like that, Bob. I have to keep up to date with you.
Well, I don't tweet. I don't Twitter. I don't.
But people tweet about you, and I have to read about it.
Well, you know, there's no way. With all due respect,
Whatever
Joe,
you got to do.
He wouldn't be listening to you because his father-in-law was actually on the TV side in the United States.
Yeah, that would do it. So, and that's
well, maybe he doesn't like
more
his
than
father-in-law.
applicable and more than understandable.
Yeah.
So do you go back and listen to your call at the end of games?
No.
You're not that guy. Me neither.
No.
Have you ever done it?
When I was first starting, I guess, to try and decide whether what worked or what didn't work. But I think I'm like you, Bob. I think once it comes out my mouth, I know whether it was good or bad, and you just kind of move on.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good thing, Joe.
But you know there are guys that have been in this business for a long time, as long as Bowen and I have been, and they do listen to
all the time.
Themselves all the time.
No, I don't. You know what? To be honest with you,
it would drive me crazy.
Myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like listening to yourself?
No, I know what it sounded like when it came out the first time. I don't need to listen to it again.
So, Joe, you've had a great seat for this run with this hockey club. We shouldn't be surprised, should we, at 2-1 in this series?
Now, that's a loaded question. When did you want to ask me that? In September?
No, but I mean, I'm just saying. No, I'm asking. I'm asking you today. I'm asking you today.
Is a better word, I think, Johnny. I mean, to be absolutely. Let's be honest. We got a bunch of kids who are just freshly out of minor hockey. who are leading this team, on a wonderful parade that no one in their right mind had any idea of as early as, say, New Year's and the outdoor game. I just think that this is just a tremendous athletic achievement that a city has engulfed and embraced. And these kids have no idea what they're doing and what they are able to do. I just think this is just one of the great sports stories in Canada, and certainly in my tenure, it's one of the great sports stories that I've been a part of.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not shocked by this, and the only reason I'm not shocked by it is because over the course of this year, in watching this team, probably more than any team in 2 decades that I've watched, because I'm fascinated by them. What I've discovered here, Bowen, is that, or I believe I've discovered, is they have serious memory problems. They can't remember what happened in the last game, and so it doesn't affect them in the next game.
No, and
they're oblivious to it.
Hey, absolutely. You can have a wonderful memory, but a short one. Understand what you did wrong, fix it, and then just move on. And their approach to this has been just ridiculous, and it's been fun to watch. I mean, Mike Babcock has done just an absolutely marvelous job of teaching, making sure you understood the lesson, but let's go out and have fun. And these kids have embraced that, and the older veterans, Kadri and Ben Riemsdyk and Leo Komarov and Bozak have embraced that too. And I think it's just been a marvelous treat. I mean, at the beginning of the playoff series with Washington, if you'd have said, they're playing with house money, and so why not enjoy it? And I think that's what they're doing right now. Now, the situation can change. If they happen to win one more game and then trying to put Washington out, there's going to be a lot more pressure on them because the expectations have now gone way overboard. But having said that, up to this point, I think they're just enjoying the ride. I
think they're immune from pressure. I don't think they get it. I don't think they understand it. And I don't think they suffer from it. I think that all of the things that we've come to believe over our entire lifetimes about sports in general and hockey specifically, about experience mattering and young kids, you can't expect too much from them and they'll get better and they'll do. Well, some of it may be true. But this team is defying all of that and has done that all year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. I think that, and when you talk to them, they're just, hey, yeah, we're just going out, doing our thing, having fun. They're enjoying it. Mitch Marner's trying to grow a beard, and he's got 2 hairs going. I think he's named them both. And so away you go. And they're just enjoying the ride. And I think that Leaf fans should enjoy that ride too, and I think that after we saw what went on last night, that they are.
You may have said it by coincidence, but I think the turning point for this team, I think the defining point for this team was the game on January 1st. I think the come from behind victory outdoors, all those people. I think that to me was a galvanizing moment for this hockey club. The other thing last night, Tyler Bozak at the end of the game and talking to Scott Oake talked about how these guys, the young players on this team, have always been stars. They've always been expected to win. And you know what? They have. Since they were 14 or 13 years old, they've been expected to win. Bozak's been expected to win, but Marner has since he was 13 or 14. Matthews has since he was 13 or 14. Nylander, Hyman, all these guys have been leaders and stars for a long period of time, and now they're just taking advantage of it.
Well, John, the other thing is that they not only were expected to win, they did.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're right.
And so when somebody said, wow, this would be a real treat if they made the playoffs, well, all these guys are going, what do you mean? Yeah. We always make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? So that, I think, has been the overall mentality of the group in the room, and the older guys who may have experienced the odd blip in the road have just been won over by this enthusiasm and this attitude. And to that extent, I think that they are, like as Bob said, oblivious to what should be a pressurized situation.
And Anderson has done his job.
Yes, he has, and he has settled things down when he's had to settle things down. The right leg save he made on last night was another turning point in the game, as well as Kuznetsov came right out of the corner. So, yeah, a lot of square pegs are fitting in round holes, and they might as well just keep it going.
So I'm a little foggy on that team 4 years ago that took the Bruins to 7 games, had a 4-1 lead in the middle of the third period, and then blew it. I mean, that part I remember. You're reminded of it all the time if you're in Toronto, as you well know. But based on your recollection, the Toronto Maple Leafs were underdogs in that series, I think.
Yeah.
Would it be comparable to this at the beginning of this series against Washington? Was that as big a surprise as this so far has been?
I would think to some extent it would be, Bob. To be absolutely honest with you, I think this is a bigger surprise. I mean, just because of the youth, because of where the team has come from a year ago at this time. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I kind of said, you know, the Buffalo Sabres 3 years ago when they finished dead last, they improved by 22 points. The Leafs weren't quite as bad. If they improved by 22 points, they'd have 92 points, which would get them right into the mix of it. And as it turned out, they finished with 95.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's the improvement that's there. But having said that, I mean, I don't think anybody in their right mind envisioned that this would be the kind of run that they would have. And I think it's just exhilarating. I think the city has just embraced them because of their youthful exuberance and the way they play.
The style, I tell you what, the style of hockey is so much fun to watch.
Oh, it is. Well, that's why I've watched so much. Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, and I'm old enough to remember, as you two guys are, of how the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s played. And it was run and gun and run and gun. And if the puck went back the other way, Grant would need to make a save once in a while. And you know what? I know they haven't won anything. They've won 2 games. But there's a glimmer in the way this team plays to what the Oilers used to do in the mid-'80s.
Well, that's high praise, obviously. But the one thing I think, as you look at the 2 teams that are in this series, the window of opportunity for the Washington Capitals is closing. They have older players. They've got a lot of UFAs and free agents they're going to have to deal with at the end of the year. Window of opportunity for the Maple Leafs has not even pushed a jar yet.
Right.
And to that end, I think your comparison, is lofty, but it is probably to some extent something that you could say is accurate.
But Joe, not to make it a history lesson here, but the 81 Oilers went to the second round and took the Islanders. To 6 games. The 82 Oilers got upset by L.A., remember, in the Miracle on Manchester. The 83 Oilers were the first team to go to the final. That's a 3-year period.
Yeah.
That's a 3-year period. This team is in that year where that first-round series in 1981, they beat Montreal, if you remember. They beat Montreal, which was electric, which was never supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where
this is potentially comparable.
That's where my comparison is. And I said mid-'80s. I correct myself. It was, the 81, 82, 83 team in Edmonton because they were kids. They skated. They relied on goaltending when goaltending. He didn't necessarily make every save, but he made the saves, and Andy Moog made saves when they needed to get done. It's a remarkable time.
The whole idea was score one more than the other guy.
Absolutely.
And they did it. And it was fun to watch. It was historic, and it set records. And this group of kids, as long as there aren't any major issues, injury or anything else, are going to be around for a while. And because of that, their window of opportunity is going to be very exciting to watch.
Well, and you mentioned Washington's window of opportunity, Bonesy, and that window could close this weekend. And
Well,
what
could. I mean,
a mess they'd be in.
Yeah, there's a lot of hockey to be played, Bob, and
I get
lots
that.
of things can change. And this is a veteran team that is going to hunker down. They're going to circle the wagons, and they're going to try and come out and change things around. But having said that, the pressure is very much in that room, and very little of it is seeped underneath the door to get into the Leaf room.
You betcha. Bonesy, always our pleasure, pal. Thanks for taking a few
pleasure,
minutes.
Robert, always.
See you soon.
We'll have to get you down to a game, Robert.
Kick, save, and a beauty. Just invite me.
All right. You're
All right.
invited.
Joe Bowen, the legendary radio voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You know, one thing to note is when you look at these two coaches, Barry Trotz and Mike Babcock, both of them are, good Prairie boys. Both of them they prepare tremendously. They're persistent on their guys. But if you look at the two guys behind the benches now, if Babcock talks too much and pushes his coaches, he's doing a great job coaching. If Trotz does the same thing right now, he's overcoaching. And that's the amazing thing about the dichotomy between these two teams right now, is that Babcock has that license with this group of guys right now. Trotz doesn't have that license because he's got veteran players that, you're going to wonder, why is he doing that to Ovi? Why is he doing that to Nick Backstrom? What's he telling TJ Oshie? It's an interesting comparison.